Hello, hello. Thanks everybody for showing up to listen to a futurist, because what the heck, right? Um, okay, so I've got 8 minutes. I got a clock over here, so let's see what we can do. I've got more slides than you think I should cover, but I go pretty quick because I'm originally from New York and I talk fast. So if I can just get the slides to move, that'd be awesome. So we're going to be talking about foresight, because that's what futurists do. A lot of people don't necessarily use the term foresight in their daily words, but if you think hindsight, look at the past, insight, looking at now, that's what we do as researchers. Foresight, simply looking at the future. So the background is things are changing. AI, COVID changed things, robotics, everything's being disrupted. Everything's changing faster than we ever thought possible, exponentially. So we need to develop and think through a wide range of possible changes. How might things change? Our consideration set that exists today or existed yesterday isn't going to be the same tomorrow, and it's going to happen really quickly. So the first thing we do as futurists is figure out, what do we know and what don't we know? And as a futurist, there are certain things that we know aren't going to change, and we're going to get to that, and they're called timeless needs. But what we don't know is, what values and behaviors are going to remain versus change, what's going to influence consumers' longer term attitudes, and what role will things like AI play as a stakeholder? When AI is making decisions on our behalf, wow, now who am I marketing to? The human, the AI, both? A lot of people, when they think, oh, you're a futurist, your alcohol bill must be through the roof. How do you think of that crazy stuff? I'm like, no, it's really not about that. Now, some people think, oh, maybe it's other stuff. No, it's not that either. A lot of people think, oh, you're a futurist, you must win the lottery all the time. I'm like, that'd be nice, but futurists don't predict winning numbers. They don't predict the stock market or lottery. And believe it or not, we don't all drive DeLoreans. So foresight really is more than creativity. It includes it, but it's not limited to creativity. So why think about the future? As a researcher specifically, why? So imagine you're going down the road, it's a little foggy, you've not been on this road before because it's a future road. You're not really sure what's there. Now, if you're going really slow, it doesn't really matter. If you're going 5-10 miles an hour, it doesn't matter what's around the corner, it doesn't matter, what's beyond the fog, because you're going slow. You can react, you've got time, you can pull over, you can stop. But we all know that we're not in control of speed. In today's world, we go really, really fast, like we're in a sports car. So what could be around the corner? Economic changes, a bull or a bear? Yeah, maybe, who knows? Familiar obstacles, things are like, yeah, we've seen that before, we'll see it again, it's not the last time we'll see it. All sorts of avoidable frustrations, unpredictable things that you look at, and when you first see this image, you're like, uh-oh, bad guy, I wouldn't pick that guy up. He's an axe murderer. Well, maybe he is. Maybe he's an off-duty lumberjack helping clear trees after a storm. Oh, yeah, see, we often react to future ideas with fear and uncertainty because we haven't seen them before, or we misjudge it really quickly. But if we're alert and prepared, we can stay out of trouble and avoid problems. So again, hindsight, insight, foresight, remember that piece. If you've learned that, you've learned something. So I said once already, but it's worth repeating. Futurists don't predict what the future is. We simply say, what are the possibilities? And we start to think, how might we prepare for each of those possibilities? And we can order them and prioritize them, but it's about saying what's possible. It's not trying to predict what's happening, it's about what's possible. So I've got a couple things weaved in here. So here's a quick primer on what we call driving forces versus trends. So a lot of people think, oh, foresight, future is all about trends. What are the trends? What are the trends? Trends aren't really as interesting. Trends are sort of the pool balls on the table, but the driving force is what makes them move. So if the trend is everybody's wearing sweaters, well, a couple of reasons for it. Maybe it's because fashion magazines say the sweaters are popular and they're cool, fashionable, but maybe it's because it's cold. If you understand what's causing the trend, much more valuable than just understanding what the trend is. So yeah, they're like pool balls, visible, unpredictable. We notice them when they're in motion. The driving force is that underlying reason for change. And again, as researchers, we're familiar with saying, well, yeah, consumer preference is this. Let's understand the underlying force of why it's that. Why did they make that choice? So timeless needs is something that I think as a researcher is really, really useful to understand. Too many times when we think about the future, we're thinking, well, the future is unknown, I can't know it. It's like, well, there are timeless needs that are going to remain constant. Timeless needs are simply things we've done in the past, we do now, and we will do in the future. How we do them changes. Regardless of where your great ancestors are from, they probably cleaned their home or their cave or their hut or wherever they were living. But they didn't have Walmart, couldn't go get a broom, couldn't get a vacuum, couldn't get those things. We clean our homes today. In the future, we'll still clean our homes, hopefully with more robotics. But if we keep in mind this idea of a timeless need, things we did in the past, we do now, we will do in the future, how we do them will change. Now we've got something we can really work with and make sure we're not just evaluating crazy ideas that really have no bearing on reality. And timeless needs sort of map out to like Maslow's hierarchy. This is one we did for timeless needs of the home. And again, they're things that we've needed for a long time: protection from elements, security, safety, comfort. We wanted those things 200 years ago, 100 years ago. Today, we'll want them in the future. When we take timeless needs and driving forces, they result in innovative use cases. We say, what's that timeless need? What's that new driving force or that new innovation? And how might it result in something innovative or new that solves a problem while meeting a timeless need? I've got some slides here about sort of the stack we use, how we start a project out and go through it. So I won't touch on everything, but basically we start with define what it is you're trying to do, identify the problems that are actually worth solving, that are the big problems, what are the factors that influence it, which technologies or innovations or even partnerships you might mux together and intersect with, ideate, visualize, tell that story, get reactions, validate and challenge those assumptions, do the research. It's really a simple process. And if you're a researcher that does qual and quant, most of these things you'll say, oh, this is sort of like or similar to, and you're right. What's the problem? What are the possibilities? Get reactions, and test and repeat. I'll skip that in the interest of time. So a lot of people as a futurist, they'll always say, well, what's the future like? Well, tell me about the future. And there's a couple of key questions we have to ask ourselves. Well, how far are we going? You're saying, what's the future? I say, well, this afternoon, I'm expecting rain. And you're like, no, I didn't mean this afternoon. Well, what did you mean? When you're talking about the future with your clients, how far out are they thinking? And are they thinking far enough out where they will actually get enough change within that timeline that it's worth thinking out? Most clients before COVID thought out maybe 5 years, and we encourage them to go to 10, maybe 15. Post-COVID, a lot's changed and things are happening faster. But today we say, if you can think of 5 years, that's a huge distance. That's a huge timeline, because 5 years today is what 15 years used to be. So things are just that much faster. And when should we prepare? Today. Today is always the day when we should start thinking about the future. And we only think about the future because we're hoping to influence the choices we make today, the things we're deciding on now, because of things that might happen in a year, 2, 3, 5, 10. We should always be thinking about the future today so we can make a better decision, at least head in the right direction. We may not know the final steps, but we can still look in the right direction. Are we willing to pay the price? The thing about foresight that I've learned as a researcher and a futurist is really that it takes time and effort. And sometimes we come up with ideas and possibilities. People are like, well, I'm not going to do some of these, so I guess that was a waste. I was like, well, it's not a waste because it taught us to think differently. It taught us to be aware of things. In fact, one of my favorite sayings is, attention buys you time, time buys you options. If we pay attention to the world around us, including those things that are really small, off in the distance, the little fringe things that could become big, it gives us time to react, time to think about options. Attention buys us time, time buys us options. But we have to be willing to spend the time before it's too late. You have to do it in advance so you can get an early read and not be caught off guard. If something all of a sudden comes into your world and catches you off guard, something you didn't anticipate, now you're in a reactive mode, it's not really the best time to do foresight. Foresight's about preparing for change and trying to understand what might happen. Be open to those future possibilities. Things that we all know and all recognize as something that had a specific role, a purpose, an iconic design or iconic, system could evolve. The wagons that we used as a kid could evolve into something that, could be a robot, could be all sorts of things. But we have to be open to those future possibilities. And your clients, like my clients, I'm sure, don't love to change. They don't love things where it's like, no, we've always done it this way, made a lot of money selling this way. Why would we change it? It's like, well, you might change it in a way that opens up new markets, new sectors, and/or your current customers say, wow, that's better than what I've loved that you sold me in the past for years. I love it. Let's do it. Let's keep it. Technology is changing in so many ways. We've all seen it in the news, especially recently with AI, but it improves our lives if we make the right choices. If we just do it for technology's sake and go, technology applied to everything, well, it's not really helpful. Is it serving a timeless need? Is it doing something that we've always done but just doing it better? Great. If we're just applying it for the sake of technology and a shiny, bright object, then not so much.